Michael Berges. I work at Ameriprise Financial. Schaefer Associates is our group here in Hays. I've been in personal finance for 11 years now. Prior to that, I managed hotels in Kansas and Missouri. I'm a graduate of Fort Hays. I came out here in 1999. I did wrestle on the wrestling program for 3 years. I graduated in 2004 with a degree in political science. I met my wife here, and we've been married 15 years now, and with 3 young boys. I have an 8-year-old Jackson in 2nd grade, a 3-year-old Noah, and our 1.5-year-old Isaac. And Isaac is a child with Down syndrome, and so that plays a big impact in our lives as well right now. And that's part of why I run. I'm just very encouraged by how Hays has done well for itself already, and I'm encouraged by the opportunities that exist for Hays to continue to do well for itself in western Kansas. The opportunities that I believe need to be addressed are affordable housing and wage growth. It was brought up in the forum. The question that was brought up in the forum is either or, a chicken and egg kind of question. And so it's hard to answer in the forum both. And it does have to be both. They do go hand in hand. We can talk about, as a hypothetical example, what if we put in 100 new houses, and the idea that would immediately attract a new business is kind of far-fetched. It really wouldn't, we can't just put in 100 new houses and expect that to bring a business. We also can't go out and tell a business, move your employees to come to Hays, and once you're here, then we will figure out how to get housing under control. So it does have to go hand in hand. There are different groups and organizations and people here in town that are working on it. So I am encouraged. I've talked to several. I even talked to somebody this morning about maybe some housing projects. So I believe the city, there are more opportunities and more incentives to tackle housing than there are usually business-wise. And so I think we can get some of the housing started, and as that project starts, or other various projects in the housing sector started, then we can use that as our bargaining chip to go after maybe some other industries and look for them to bring employees. But it was also brought up in the forum. Hess is looking to hire 100 people, and so we also have to work with our businesses and local businesses that are already here to find employees and make sure the rest of the state and western Kansas knows that we are hiring. So if we can get them attracted to Hays, that goes in hand with, okay, they're looking to come to Hays, where are they going to live? And so now that kind of goes with, we need to be able to sort out affordable housing, whether that's rent or mortgage or however it is. So that's the two. They go hand in hand. It's the biggest opportunity, the biggest challenge. I think we kind of know land prices and housing prices is expensive in Hays. How do we tackle that? And it is very difficult to go to an employer and tell them they need to increase wages. So that's where I think being a little bit outside and attracting a new business of some sort that forces maybe some of the other employers in town, if they want to keep their employers or their employees, from maybe going to maybe a new employer, it kind of tips their hand at a lot of time it just comes to give me a little bit more or the benefit package that they offer. So I think that's where some of that strategic planning of maybe bringing an industry or a business into town that kind of disrupts our comfort zone with the businesses currently. I know just from my work as a financial advisor, I work with retirees, and they do have their retirement accounts, and they do want to use it in retirement. So that may be modifying their home or upgrading their home. They'll spend it on new cars. It may be their last car, but they'll buy a new car at this time for it, and they like to travel. And health care is always going to be an issue with them, so they want to make sure they're in a place that has quality health. And Hays does offer quality health, not just Hays Med. We have other, first care clinic. We have chiropractors, we have dentists, so we have the whole gamut of quality health. We have quality of life for retirees that like to golf, sporting events like the football and basketball game. I think retirees enjoy that, even if it's not necessarily their school. If it's an event on an evening and to go watch a football game, I think they'll do that. We do have to be careful of what we call attracting retirees, because I think it's really going to fall on Western Kansas, because retirees are kind of attracted to three things: weather, lower taxes, and their kids or grandkids. And Hays can't really do much about the weather, and state and local taxes, we're probably not going to do much there as far as lowering them. And that's why retirees tend to go to Florida and southern Texas and Arizona and New Mexico, because great weather and no or little taxes. So that goes to kind of the earlier question that, well, then how do we attract retirees? Well, we have to get their kids and their grandkids to move to Hays or live in Hays. And if there's, again, quality jobs or good paying jobs and affordable housing, then I think retirees will say, well, if my kids are there, that tends to pull retirees. That's kind of the third major attraction, is being able to live close to their kids and grandkids. So it's about pulling my generation out here to work. So if they're going to come farther than Western Kansas, I think we can attract retirees from the smaller communities like St. Francis and Hoxie and Osborne and those kind of areas, because Hays is a larger hub than those cities. But outside of that, it's going to have to be something a little bit more major. It's going to have to be coming probably for kids and grandkids. For Hays and our VOTEC, and we are a highly educated, I believe, highly educated community, because we have college options, and we have a public and private elementary and high school. So education is important, and so that's always been kind of a little bit of an issue, is that once they're educated here, they seem to go elsewhere. And there can be various reasons to go elsewhere. Again, when I moved here in '99, and we did leave in 2003 for a few years as I ran motels, and it was an easy choice for us to decide to come back to Hays. So I find that the brain drain conversation, I get a little bit irritated by it, because I came back, and I know other people that have come back to live here in Hays. So I think there's a great opportunity for us to kind of champion, to say Hays is a great place to live, and we need to keep those here. And so yes, if we keep them here, as you kind of alluded to, then their parents, wherever they may be, very well may move into Hays. From a city standpoint, they do well. The budget is fantastic. 17 out of 18 years, they've matched revenue to their budget needs, and they don't. And there's money in the bank, so they do pay cash. And so when they need a fire truck or replace signage or whatever it might be, they're not borrowing for it. They pay for it in cash, and so that's important. That allows us to do some of the things, whether you agree with some of the things or not, like purchasing some land and doing those things, but it does allow us without trying to have to go borrow. So there are ways we can look at using the money in the bank to, again, maybe improve quality of life. That's kind of the first part of city that I see doing well, and I would certainly want to be a part of continuing to make sure the budget is met every year. I do have to brag on the safety of the community. I have talked to the police and the fire chiefs, and I already knew that we were a safe community. And considering we live on an interstate and we have a college town, and what that may attract, I think they do a fantastic job of keeping our community safe. Our fire department is rated very high. They have an ISO 2 rating out of 10, and that puts them top 4% of fire departments in the nation. The police department, I recently talked to them, and I had a very specific question. With my son with the Down syndrome, I did ask the police chief a very specific question about how they handle individuals with disabilities. We've had an issue in the past, so I asked that specifically, wanting to know, and I had no idea what he was going to tell me, and he was very excited to tell me about this One Mind campaign, that Hays is the second police department out of the whole state of Kansas. Kansas City is the other to complete the One Mind campaign and crisis intervention training. And I took that very personally, that was accomplished by our police department. So I do have to give our emergency services a big round of applause. I think that's very important to have a safe community for everybody. I will champion some of the quality of life. I think parks, and so I do believe the Arc Park is something that needs to be done. They're doing a good job raising funds. I will admit I have a conflict of interest. I do serve as a treasurer on the Arc. But I think that park is such a unique feature that I would see it in the same asset as our water park or a golf course or our frisbee golf. It would be, again, that feature that would attract more than just individuals with disabilities. It would attract the community-wide to participate in using it. So that is something that I would look for to be fully funded one way or the other. I'm not going to say that the city needs to step in and do that, but if they work on getting what they are from donations and what forth, I would like to see the city step up and make sure it gets done. And the other opportunity, I think, it goes kind of with the attracting seniors or retirees. I think Hays needs its own senior center. And so I would like to see a senior center built, centralized, and modernized for our Hays retirees. Probably wouldn't advocate for attracting or growing retail at this time. The retail we have, I feel is adequate for the population size that we have and the dollars that families have to spend. It just seems like lately, every time a new restaurant comes to town, you want to see it do well, but another restaurant seems to go out of business. If we have a clothing store or accessory store that comes and opens up, it seems like another one in town has to close. And it feels like because there's only so much the family can stretch their dollar and support one restaurant or one store every, in a month or during their time. So I don't know at this time if it's worth Hays trying to attract more retail. I think it has to be attracting some sort of industry or improving the industries, using Hess again as a kind of example. If we can attract more employees, and if there's more employees with higher wages, then those dollars that they have to stretch go a little bit farther, and then retail will just naturally and organically improve and increase. So I would certainly want to support what we currently have without really trying to outreach and bring in something else. As far as the sales tax, I think it is good that Hays is in a position of strength. So that's going to be a county question. Hays will benefit from it. I'm glad that Hays is again in a position of strength. We don't need it. It would enhance the amount of money in the bank, enhance the ability to make sure our budget is met, and then look at other opportunities, maybe improve our streets a little bit more, the senior center, Northwest Corridor. So it allows us to enhance. So it is a position of strength for the city to say it would benefit us. And it's much better to ask in a position of strength. The county's kind of they're kind of in a position of desperation asking for a sales tax increase. And so if you were to be one or the other and you're going to ask for sales, you'd prefer to be on our side and saying this is good, and whether it passes or not, we'll be okay if it doesn't. We'll benefit if it does. I'm running because I'm encouraged by Hays and what Hays is already offering for our family. And I just want to be a part of being involved further and not sitting on the sidelines so much. We all kind of do that. We'll read about whatever's going on, and then we'll have conversations with our spouses or our friends. And so I just felt it was an opportunity for me to just be more involved. So I think if you're a voter, that's what I want you to think about of me is when an issue comes to me, it's going to be addressing it in a long-term stance. I'm going to try to very hard to look at multiple sides of the issue, and it's because I want to see Hayes continue to be the opportunity for my family, and then that way I can show if somebody's on the outside thinking about moving to Hayes, we have a lot to offer, and I want to continue to show that we can do that.